This is a video about keyboards and Snickers Berry Whip, which I've never seen before. So I'd try it and see what it's like. Once I found the power button, I'll switch this PC on and we can talk about keyboards. The thing with keyboards is that I don't really like laptop keyboards. There isn't much travel on the keys, and you can get some really nice old keyboards, and often I'm asked on videos what the keyboard is when I use some of these older keyboards. And this is a Razer something analog with replacement keys. Razer Huntsman V2 linear optical switch RZ03 0392, and this was a quieter one. They did two versions of this, I think, and this was a quieter one, so the keys are a little bit quieter. But let's just open up WordPad, which is still in Windows 10. Make the font larger, and we'll just go through these keyboards. So I may as well start with this since it's lit up, and I'm accidentally pressing the keys underneath because the one underneath is also plugged in. So yeah, this keyboard is great, except for the fact that it tries to install Razer software on any machine you plug it into. It's got a USB. This volume control is quite helpful. I don't use these buttons, but the keys are quite easily replaced, and you can change the color and all that kind of thing. But this is one of my more recent keyboards, and it's an Avid, designed for Avid software, I think. And it's an NMB technology, made in Thailand. I'm not really sure what I have pressed on the screen to make it do what it is done. The model number is RT6656 TWUK, designed for Windows 95. Accidentally activated some kind of zoomed view and opened up the internet. So the reason I bought this one was because of the colourful keys. I think they're really cool looking. And it's quite nice to type on. I can type quite quickly on this. And it's a PS2 keyboard, but I've got a PS2 to USB adapter. This is just off eBay. It was really quite cheap and means I can use PS2 keyboards on modern laptops and anything else really. And it doesn't seem to have any problems working. So yeah, I tend to use this when I'm writing and using a laptop. And I don't mind the noise, and it is quite loud. They're kind of quite, if you wiggle them, there's quite a lot of movement. I also have a Logitech wireless keyboard. This doesn't have as much travel. That's a K270. I don't tend to use this much. Some of these keys tend to get stuck when typing. I've not plugged this into this PC. And another keyboard that I have but don't really like that much is this Logitech. And this is quite useful, wireless again, K400 Plus, because it's got a trackpad. So and it is quite small, so I can use this and it not be too much of an issue. It doesn't get in the way that much, but typing on it isn't great. But yeah, those are the keyboards that I don't really use that much, the two Logitech keyboards. So let's move on to a keyboard that I do use, or that I like rather. So this is a Lenovo keyboard. I like the blue here. Again, it's sort of got the rattly kind of sound, and the details are there for model SK8820, made in China. Got some nice feet, cable routing as well, so you could route the cable through here and across this section if you wanted it to go out a certain side or the other side. That's quite a neat feature. Let's just plug this in. Still quite loud, but not too loud. But I do like typing on this one as well. So what else do we have in the background in terms of keyboards? We've got this Turbo Track. The sort of keys look a little bit like a Mac keyboard, but this is KB 9002 RE Plus Turbo Track keyboard. And this one's really creaky. There's a lot of screws holding it together, but this has got a AT connection. I don't have an AT to USB adapter, so I won't be able to plug it in. This feels quite nice. There's a softness to these keys which is quite pleasing. And it sounds quite nice. So I quite like that, but that is for my oldest computers if I need an AT keyboard. This is one that is featured on quite a lot of my videos. This is really quite heavy. KBD-Win95. Got these large things there, and it's got cable routing, so you can move it from one side to the other. Rubber, well, it's missing one of the rubber feet. It's got one there. But let's plug this one in. So let's, the fonts become really small. Let's, I've got caps lock on. Let's see how this, yeah, this is also quite nice. I don't know why people dislike cheaper keyboards, because they seem really nice to type on, you know. It's definitely yellowed, but all the keys are kind of nicely spaced out. It's just a simple basic keyboard that works well. You don't really need a fancy keyboard unless you want one, unless, you know, you want one, but this is really nice to type on and it feels really good. But I'll switch to this Cherry keyboard. This is a Cherry And the model, if I can find it, a Type 35. I like these Yes Netwear logos. Yes, Unixwear tested and approved. I mean, it's a keyboard. What needs kind of approving in terms of whether a keyboard works or not? But we've got an LR63292, part number G83-6090L PNGB/01. So let's switch to this one, and this is like the sort of Razer of the olden days, the premium keyboard. Everyone was super jealous of this kind of keyboard if you had one. The only reason I have one is because I got given some PCs and this keyboard came with it, and I decided I'd keep it, but I don't actually use it, and I've never really thought about using it properly, because it's not actually that good to type with. The keys are quite stiff, so let's see if that's still the case. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but when you sort of press a key, it's occasionally quite slow to return, so the key sort of gets stuck. So maybe it's just a case of needing to thoroughly clean this keyboard, but let's just see what typing is like. There's quite a lot of resistance on a lot of the keys. I have to press quite hard, and I feel like it's not properly registering the key presses. Even though it is, it's slowing me down when typing. I still feel like I'm having to press quite hard to make the keys register. Even though it is a very nice looking keyboard, it looks a bit like an Amiga keyboard. Yeah, it's quite solid. It's got some chunky feet, and then it's got rubber bits there, and also on the bits that flip up. Not seeing any cable management or routing underneath though, which you do get on the other ones. Maybe it would be better. It's quite nice to type on, but it does feel too stiff for typing. And there's a few more. There's a couple of other keyboards that I'll just grab. So I've got an Apple keyboard, A1048, and this one I found on the street basically. Someone was giving it away. It was missing one of the keys, so I was able to buy a key and then have a working Mac keyboard. It's white, so it doesn't matter how often you clean it, it will end up dirty again. You can sort of see the keys aren't really as narrow at the top, so they're sort of wider. It's heavy, it's well built, but it is very easy to get this dirty, and I don't particularly enjoy typing with this keyboard, so I mostly use this for spare PCs or if I've got nothing else available. The cable is also pretty short, but it does have two USB sockets at the back. But yeah, it's pretty, I don't know. I just don't use it much. It's something that I use if I've got nothing else to hand. Okay, so there's one last keyboard that I don't use. It's a pen click, and these are meant to be really good. Keyboard 2080 Mark 1. These are meant to be really good for people who type a lot. It's pretty dusty. It's a USB keyboard. Does it have feet? Yeah, it's got some feet. Oh, one of the feet is missing. That's a shame. It's got rubber here, so I can't lift that up. But let's plug it in and I'll show you why this is not a good keyboard for people who type. I mean, it might be a very good keyboard in terms of how it feels. Let me just set the font size. It's gone again. Are you ready? This is the pen click keyboard. And I don't know if that came through on the video, but this is the loudest keyboard out of all of the keyboards I have. It's kind of got a bouncy sound to it and an echo. It then echoes the sound of the keys. So it's very loud, and there's also an echo. So if you were in an office or a room or in a building with other people, this would be a nightmare to be around. It's just so loud. It does feel good in terms of the keys. And in terms of the difference between this and the other keys, this is really easy to press. It's really easy to press down on the keys. There's no resistance. So typing, you just feel like it's accepting all of your presses, whereas the Cherry keyboard felt like you were pressing really, really hard. But now, let's see what a Snickers Berry Whip is. Pile of peanut, chewy caramel, and a slab of strawberry flavoured whipped nougat covered in chocolate. That doesn't look good, does it? That's not the colour that chocolate is supposed to be. Where is this from? Where is the best before date? Let me have a look. 29th of July 26. Used by date. So date of manufacture 30th of July 2025. So it's within date, but it doesn't look good. But let's try it anyway. So it basically tastes pretty bad. Yeah, that's weird. I would not recommend this. Yeah, that is horrible. This is just leaves a horrifically awful taste in your mouth. I don't know why this exists. Did someone think this was a good idea? Did someone even taste this at any point? Or have I got a bad one? I don't know, but yeah. Just don't buy one of those ever. This pen click does have interesting lights here. Doesn't have a num lock because there's no room. Doesn't have those keys. But yeah, what do you think of keyboards? Modern keyboards versus old keyboards. I notice you can go into a shop and buy a modern keyboard that has, basically it's a laptop keyboard with minimal travel And I don't know why they're doing that or whether that's a good idea. I know some people who are used to laptops, like MacBooks, for example, really like those kind of keyboards. But I guess it's all down to personal preference, isn't it? And in theory, I should really like this cherry keyboard, but I don't. I quite like some of these cheaper keyboards that just feel nice as a type on. Anyway, if you've watched this video, thank you for watching. Check out my main channel, Old PC Gunk and stuff, and see you in another video. Bye.